Well, I wasn't going to do another boat video or boat motor video, but all of a sudden the last one kind of took off. Must be everybody's trying to get their old Evinrude motors tuned up to go and hit the lake. So I thought maybe I would make another one. And this time we're going to be rebuilding these two carburetors in here. I have one of these carburetors has a the needle's letting too much gas by it. It might not be making a good seal in its seat anymore. Actually, some fuel leaking down. You can't really probably see it in the video, but it's all wet down there. And then it comes back and drains down the side, gets into the water, and then, you know, makes rainbows. I have a rebuild kit. I was planning on doing this like back in spring, but I didn't get around to it, so I'm going to do it now. Put some new plugs in it, and then hopefully it'll start. So let me, we got to take this cover off, and then we should be able to see them carburetors in there, so let's get started. So here's that cover. Mine only had 4 bolts in it, but I think it's supposed to have 6, 3 on either side. And this has got some straight up 2-stroke oil right there, because I'm sure all the fuel's evaporated and what's left is a decent splash of oil. So maybe that's where my fuel was coming from. Then it was probably spitting out these carburetors and running down. Alright, now looks like we got another 6 flathead screws to take out to get this part of the cover off. Alright, now we got this choke lever here. See if I can get this to pop out without breaking it. Yep. What else is attached to this? There's something else? Oh, it must have been a little rubber. It must have been a vent for one of the carburetors or something. Not sure. A little rubber hose back here that connects to the bottom. Got that. Now we can see these carburetors. Let's bring you in here. So we got this link here that works the throttles. Or is that for the choke? That's for the choke. So, but I don't want to take that out because I don't want these to become unadjusted. This one here is throttle, so we gotta get them links out. Alright, so I just popped loose this rod that connects the 2 choke plates together. It just pops right out of these plastic clips here, not a big deal. Would be a big deal if you happen to break one, but luckily I didn't. But I wanted to pay special attention to this one that connects the 2 throttle blades together. Right here where my finger is. Get the screwdriver. So you can see that it starts here and it has a bend, and then it goes straight for a while, and then another little S bend, and then it goes straight right up to when it connects to this up here. So for future reference, when I'm putting this back together and when you are, here's how it is. It's got this S-curve right off the bottom throttle plate into another S-curve, and then a long straight section here. So the part with all these turns here goes towards the bottom. Brought a light in here so maybe we can see what's going on. So on the other side, opposite of the linkage, we got to unhook some of these hoses here. Now it looks like we got this big one coming in. I'm guessing that is the main fuel line. And then we got this guy right here that looks like it's going, must be how these two share fuel with each other, I guess. I don't know. And then that hose down there is just going to the manifold, so we don't have to mess with that, I don't think. So I guess all I really need to do is take off this big one and then these. Which that line's getting pretty hard. You know, if you might want to check these fuel lines here and potentially replace them if needed, would be a good time to do it. Because like ethanol fuel will make these fuel lines quite hard. And they both feel pretty hard, I guess. So I just, when I went to go grab hold of this fuel line here, this brass fitting slid right out of the carburetor, and that's probably not supposed to, that's probably not what you want. So I guess I'm gonna have to address that problem now. Maybe that's where my fuel was leaking in the first place. I don't really know. Alright, so since these nuts here, which I just cracked loose, are so close to you know, other things going on, like that right there is probably the throttle blade shaft. You kind of have to work them loose as you pull the carburetor away, that way you can get the nuts off. So that's how you're going to do that, kind of like working on a Ford. Okay, we got carburetor 1 off. Almost same procedure for carburetor 2. Flip it over to full throttle to get at this nut here. But as long as, you know, they don't have really long studs. So it's not too bad. You don't have to sit here and turn on them forever. There's carburetor number 2. I wonder if I should mark, yeah, I should probably mark this. Actually, no. You'll know which one's on the bottom because it's got this roller here that connects to this lever right here, and that's how you throttle it up. So the bottom one has this roller on the throttle blade. So that's how you'll be able to distinguish the two. Alright, we got these 2 carburetors over here on the bench. We're going to start going through them here. And I did somewhat fix this fuel inlet, but I can't really recommend to people to do it the way I did it, because this could be potentially, you know, kind of dangerous if this port here were to come loose on you while you're going across the lake. Because if you think about it, like, you still have a lot of fuel here in the bowl, so the engine's not going to quit right away. It's probably going to keep going for another 30 seconds, and all the while you're going to be pumping gas straight to the you know, around the bottom of the base of the engine there, and potentially catch on fire. I don't know. So I guess probably the best thing to do would be to get a new carburetor bowl where this isn't loose. What I did is I hammered that back in there. You know, it was pretty tight. But before I did that, I put some JB Weld around the bottom of it just to try to glue it in. And then to top it off, I took a punch and I punched around the perimeter of where this fuel inlet is to try to tighten up the hole on the brass fitting. And I think when I get my fuel, I'm going to put a new fuel line in it, and I'm going to zip tie that up so it's not pulling down at this at all. Because I think the only thing holding it in before was the old stiff fuel line. That was the only thing keeping that in there, and that's probably what was leaking gas all the time. So that's a dangerous situation. I would recommend, probably to be safe, just see if you could find another bowl with that still pressed in there. Alright viewers, we got these carburetors on the bench. Time to start going through them. I actually already did the other one, just so I had an idea what's going on, so I can talk you through what I did to that one, make it go more smoothly. So these carburetors on mine are actually quite clean inside. I didn't see anything. They look pretty much brand new on the inside, but I do think I'm having a little bit of my main objective here is to change the needle and seats. But since I bought a carburetor kit, here's the part number for the kit. Since I bought this, I might as well go through and change a few things around. If you had a carburetor that was more severely dirty, I guess, you might want to get one of those buckets full of that like carburetor cleaner and let them soak for a while to clean all these little ports out real good. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to take this little cap off the very top of the carburetor, because the kit comes with a new one. And what that's going to do is we're going to have access to the little ports for the idle mixture circuit. If I can get it off. There it goes. So now that we got that cap popped off right here, you can, if you look inside, you'll see a couple little holes in the bottom, and then you'll see where the little needle for this adjuster screw is poking through on the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this adjuster screw out all the way. I'm going to spray some carburetor cleaner through here. And like I said, if yours is pretty corroded, you might want to take all this apart and let it soak in that, you know, those cans of gallon of that carb cleaner stuff, let it soak for a while. But and also there's a rubber seal that seals this right here. We'll replace that too. And there's the seal still on the end, and it's got a little slot for this slot right there. And your kit, if you bought the same one I did, will have a new one of these seals. Alright, so now I'm going to take this over and I'm going to spray this circuit here out, and then we'll put it back together. I'm going to try to screw, you have to like basically screw the seal onto the screw. We need to get it going on there and have some threads exposed on the other side, because we want to be able to start the threads in the carburetor. Okay, now that we got it started, let's pop it back in the hole. There, I tried to make the lighting situation a little better. So, okay, so we finally got that screwed back in. Alright, till it bottomed out, but don't like reef it down and strip everything out. Just until you feel it stop being able to turn, then back out a full turn. Now let's find which one of these fit in this hole here. Put a new cap in here. That one's a little too small. That one's a little too big. It's this one. That one didn't fit as nicely as the one on the other carburetor, but we got it in there all the same. Alright, so now that we got the idle circuit sorted out, let's change some stuff around in this fuel bowl here. So we'll take our 4 flathead screws out the bottom here. Here's the old gasket, don't need that anymore. Now look inside here, very clean. Alright, so to get the float off, you gotta take this pin out right here where it hinges, and then we can, whoops, it's just pressed in there. Just find something to push it out with. And you gotta remember, I don't know if it's important or not, but it pushes in from the same side as your fuel inlet. So keep that in mind. Also, pay attention to the level before you pull that pin, just to kind of see where this float is in here. You might be able to go online and find like a float height setting that's recommended for this carburetor. And then you can bend this little metal tab right here to kind of adjust where this is at with the carburetor turned upside down. So you're basically adjusting for maximum fuel level. Alright, so I'm going to take this over to the bench. I'm going to spray through this right here, which is where your main circuit is, and then spray through where I just took the needle seat out, which is your fuel inlet circuit. I don't think there's anything in there, but I'll spray it out just to be safe. Alright, I got everything sprayed out, looking good. So in this little bag here, I got a bunch of float stuff. I got the inlet needle, a new seat, and it comes with this little plastic washer or seal you put on there. So let's get that screwed in first. Okay. Now we got inside this bag, there's a tiny little spring clip, and that is to clip the needle onto the float. I'll show you how that goes, because here's the old one. See how that needle is attached right here? So we gotta do the same. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but here's a little clip, and it's got a sharp hook on it where you can see where this snaps on, just like that. And then you got your new float, which this indentation you see here, that faces towards you if you have the carburetor upside down. So it goes in like that. Indentations right there. Because you don't want to put this in upside down, that might screw you up. Okay. We also need our new, so let's get this clipped on. So you just slide this right onto this metal tab here, and that just stays just like that. So we got our new pin, and then we guide, make sure that needle goes into its hole. on here. Remember, we push this in starting from the side with the fuel inlet. And we just make sure it goes through the hinge and into the other side. Alright, now what you want to do is, now is a good time to check. Like I was saying earlier, you want to make sure that your float is at the right level. You know, if you have it like this, that'd be considered a little too low, so you're not going to get as much fuel in your bowl because it's going to shut the valve off right there. If you have it like sunk down in there too far, then it's going to be too high. You probably run rich. The old ones were perfectly level, and these new ones are also perfectly level. So I think I'm going to leave it like that for now, because I didn't bother to look up what the height was, but I'm pretty sure that's probably good. There's one more piece to this puzzle, and it was stuck to the bowl right here like that. So instead of putting it there, I'm just going to slide it down this. That's where I'm pretty sure it goes. So you put your new little brown seal, and then just kind of gently pop it down through, and it falls down into its place. And then we get our new carburetor gasket. We put that on there. Make sure all your holes are lined up. And then you get your fuel bowl and stick it back on. And I'll just go through and put the 4 flathead screws back on. Okay, so when I'm tightening these down, I just keep going around and around because I want to make sure they're all equally snug. You know, if you just hit them all once, you know, I might tighten this one up a little. Now this one's loose, because that's just how it goes when you put stuff like this on. So just keep going around for a while until you get them all about the same tightness. Probably don't want it super duper tight because it's a rubber gasket. There's this drain here right on the back, so we're gonna pop that off. Ooh, that was loose. That might have been another leak. You know, after going through these carburetors, they look like brand new inside, so I think that fuel inlet being loose was leaking a little bit. And this right here might have been leaking because that was hand tight in there. Put a new seal on that screw. Here's the old one. And we'll tighten that back up. Let's see what else we had in this kit. We have some more of these covers to hammer on, a couple O-rings, stuff like that. And I did like a light rebuild, I guess you want to say. I don't know. Some of that stuff might not even go to this carburetor. Sometimes you get a carburetor kit and it fits many different. You might have a couple of different style carburetors that fits. Like, what's this piece? Don't know. Maybe that goes in the fuel pump or something. So yeah, but I think your basic guy in his garage is going to do what I just did. You know, maybe you might want to, like I said earlier, go ahead and get one of those gallons of that carburetor soaking stuff. I can't remember what it's called, but you might know what I'm talking about. Take your carburetors apart, let them soak, and then blow them out, and then maybe it'll run good for you. Alright, so now what I got to do is put these back on the boat along with some new spark plugs, and we'll fire it up. And if this video is posted online, that means that I must have got it going. Alright, we're getting ready to put these carburetors back on. And I forgot to mention this before, but when you finish doing the float and needle, a good way I always check to make sure it's working once you get the bowl back on is if you blow through the fuel inlet here, with the carburetor the right side up, you should be able to blow through there. But if you turn the carburetor upside down, you should not be able to blow through. So that should give you a good idea that your carburetor or the float is working. Alright, so let's go and start with the bottom one. Now remember, the bottom carburetor has this roller on it that engages with this throttle linkage here. So we will put this one back on first. I already stuck on my new intake gaskets. You're going to want to make sure my old ones came off nice in one piece. They didn't like stick to the intake, so I got lucky. Get my 1/2-inch wrench and tighten them up. Okay, now I'm going to put the upper one on and we'll start getting all of the linkages hooked up. Give you a look at what's going on over here. So I replaced the fuel line with just some automotive grade fuel line that I had laying around. Goes from the pump and it goes underneath the starter and everything, and then it comes back up and connects to the bigger port on your upper carburetor. And if you remember, I had my fitting was loose in here, which may have been causing one of my fuel leaking problems. I mean, you can still see where I had oil, that's 2-stroke oil running down, and then it gets into the lake. It's all wet right here, so it was pretty bad. So basically, I don't know what the correct way to fix that is. Maybe just get a whole new float bowl with that piece pressed in there good. But what I did was I just put some JB weld on it, hammered it back in the hole, and then before the JB weld dried, I took a hammer and a punch and I punched around the perimeter where that fuel inlet goes in to try to tighten that hole up around it, because that's a potentially dangerous situation. If that were to drop out of there, you wouldn't immediately quit running because you still got fuel in here. So it'll probably run for another 30 seconds, all the while you're pumping gas all in this area, potentially cause a fire. So I guess what I did is kind of sketchy. I can't recommend that you do that, but that's what I did. So now I'm going to go ahead and replace that. So this is a 5/16 fuel line, the main line. And now I'm going to just replace the 3/16 line, the smaller one that goes between, let me get the light in here, it goes between that port down there on the lower carburetor, just to that one there, and that shares fuel between the carburetors. Okay, I got my 2 throttle linkages hooked back up, the choke. Pretty simple, it just snaps right in. Also, there's this spring right here that goes to this, and it's got this little clip. Now that's the automatic choke function. There's this thing right here that pulls on that and it's supposed to hit the choke automatically. I don't think that works on mine though. I always have to take the hood off and flip that switch that's on the air cleaner to get it to start. Anyway, so that's good. And then back here's the throttle link. And we talked about this earlier, so we don't put it on the wrong way. It clips in this way, and the curved end is at the bottom. The straight end is at the top. So, you know, I could see a lot of guys taking this apart and forgetting where this goes, because that'd be something I would do. So, but I do remember it from studying it pretty hard the other day when I took this off. So now that we got those things hooked up and all of our fuel lines hooked up, we can start putting this air shroud back on, and should be done. Be able to go outside, put the water heaters on it, see if it'll fire up, and then later on I'm going to take it to the lake, because when you for the final adjustment for like the idle, so like if you're going through like a no wake zone and you're just putting along, that's where this engine was struggling. It was running great at throttle, but the no wake zones, it started really not liking that. So what you got to do, and the best way I know how to do this, is you get the engine to full operating temperature, so buzz it around the lake, whatever, get it warmed up, then put it back in idle, so you're just putting along at the lowest speed, and have somebody steer it for you, preferably close to the dock you came in on in case it quits like it did for me. That's when you tune in your idle. So you need it to be warm, and you need to have a load on the engine, so you need to have it in gear with the propeller going, putting you through the water. That's when it would be the best time to tune in your two idle mixtures right here. And I went ahead and I colored the top half of these red, so I don't get disoriented when I'm turning on those. I get them both turned out one full turn, and then probably I'll just work on them quarter at a time when we're in the water, like turn one out a quarter, turn the other one out a quarter, until I get it running pretty good.